Hello everybody, this is episode 101 of Mouth Dancing with your host Young. Thank you for tuning in again this week. It's awesome. And it's just awesome basically. First thing I wanted to talk about this week is expats. Do you know what an expat is? It's someone who is living in a foreign country, basically. It usually applies to, like, Western people, like white people usually, or, maybe black people living in, like, another country, like in Asia, like in Japan. But they get called expats for some reason. They don't get called immigrants, which is what happens when people move the other direction. For some reason, they get called expats. I'm not sure why the difference, because they're basically immigrants, right? Especially if they end up, getting residence there or citizenship. But yeah, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but sometimes they get called sexpats. It's like a derogatory term for expats because they're seen as people who had to travel to another country to be able to get laid. Or, even they get called sex tourists, or LBH, which stands for loser back home. So they're a loser back home, so they had to travel to another country to find a woman. It's usually a man that gets labeled as a sexpat. But a lot of these guys are just the worst trash you can ever imagine. They're very racist, as you can see in the screen cap I put up in this episode. They have a sense of superiority over not just the people in the country, the natives of the country they're in, but like other races of people who might live there. So they'll look down on other immigrants. Like, let's say there's a white guy in Japan, and then there's someone from India. He'll say racist things about this Indian person, which is pretty ironic considering the white guy's also a tourist or an immigrant in that country. But they think of themselves differently from, other immigrants from other countries. They're, above them. They're special. They're expats. They're not immigrants. And, yeah, these people are just all over Asia. They're in Japan, they're in Korea, they're in China, they're in Thailand, they're in Vietnam, they're in Cambodia, they're in Laos, they're just all over that whole area. Philippines, Singapore, Taiwan, Indonesia, Malaysia. I'm just naming all the Asian countries basically. But I think you get my drift. Yeah, these guys, they need to be stopped because they're annoying. People in their home countries didn't even like them. So yeah, they're pretty much insufferable people who travel across the world and then go be insufferable there, causing problems in another country even. As if they weren't big enough of a problem in their own country, right? We gotta get these sexpats out of there. And they even, they look down on diaspora Asians even. They say, oh, those aren't real Asians. The real Asians are all in Asia. So yeah, these are the type of people we're dealing with here. They just think they're better than literally everyone. Even the people of the country that they're living in. And they're foreigners there. So, spread the word far and wide. Let it be known that these sexpats, sex tourists, LBHs, they need to be stamped out. It's time for their kind to come to an end. Next, I wanted to talk about the most popular episode of my podcast. I put up a screen cap of it. It's the one called Standing Up for Pants Shitters. It was episode number 46 actually, which is a long ways back. I don't know if you remember that episode. I don't, unless I listen to it again. It's been a pretty long time now, I think that was over a year ago at this point. And I'm just wondering why it's so popular. It's got the most views, which isn't a lot considering this podcast gets almost no views, but it's got the most of any of my episodes. So I'm wondering what caused that. Were people really interested in pants shitting? Or are they all searching shitting pants or something like that on YouTube? Because they want to see videos of people shitting their pants. So then my podcast comes up because it's in the title. Then they probably click on it to see if there's anything related to pants shitting in it. They probably want to see like videos of it, right? They don't want to hear someone just talking. But that episode doesn't have any video of anyone like shitting their pants or anything, so they probably end up being sorely disappointed by that. And I don't know, what to do about that. But it's weird that that is such a draw for people. Well, that's just my guess as to why it's popular. Maybe there's another reason. Maybe it's actually a good episode. I don't remember what I said in it. And people were like, hey, listen to this episode. It's really funny. I don't know what happened there, but someone needs to explain this to me. Like, maybe the people at YouTube, the Google guys, Larry Page and Sergey Brin, I think that's their names, right? The founders. I don't know if they even still work there anymore. They probably retired on all their Google money, right? But if you guys are listening, or anyone else who works there, and you know what's going on, let me know. Because I'm really curious. And I think my listeners are too, and if I ever hear back about the reason behind it, I'll let all of you know. And lastly, I wanted to talk about chocolate. People go nuts for chocolate, right? They're like, I'm addicted to chocolate, I gotta have it every day, I'm a chocolate lover. If I don't get chocolate, I might get real grumpy about it. And maybe, get some road rage or something, or take it out on the clerk at the grocery store and become a total Karen if I don't get my chocolate. Have you ever heard people saying stuff like this? I have. It's usually boomers for some reason, I think, that they really like to express their love of chocolate for some reason. It's like some sort of a running joke in their generation, I don't know why. But I think if you're a true chocolate aficionado, right, you have to be able to eat dark chocolate, because that's supposedly the pinnacle of chocolate, right? Because it's got the most actual chocolate in it. Like milk chocolate and white chocolate don't have much actual chocolate in it. Those are a lot of milk and sugar, right? But dark chocolate is the real chocolate. But I think dark chocolate's kind of gross. I don't really like it. It's like bitter and tastes kind of like bark or something. It reminds me of when you put nuts in dessert and it ruins the dessert because it makes it taste all like sandy and rough and just not that sweet. So yeah, dark chocolate, that's what it's like for me, and I guess that means I'm not a real chocolate person. I think to be a true chocolate connoisseur, you have to be a fan of dark chocolate. I did see this thing recently though where they did some sort of study about dark chocolate and found that most of the dark chocolate on the market has really high levels of lead or mercury, something like that. I'm not sure which, but it was some sort of heavy metal like that. Arsenic? No, probably not arsenic, you'd probably die, but it was like mercury or lead, or maybe cadmium. Pretty much all the major chocolate bars or chocolate candies that you find at the store, they found unacceptable levels of it, like beyond the normal amount you should consume in a day or whatever. And that's really harmful to your body, so probably ruins your liver or something, your kidneys, I'm not sure. Maybe even does brain damage. I don't think getting brain damage is worth it just to eat some chocolate. So maybe it's a good thing not to like dark chocolate. Because A, it tastes bad, and B, it's got heavy metals in it that'll screw your system up. And C, chocolate harvesting is unsustainable and cruel and unequitable and exploitative. So this is all a plus win-win situation. You reduce all that stuff and it's better for your body. So maybe being a chocolate lover is not something you should brag about. Right? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being a chocolate lover because you're not directly responsible for all this stuff that happens, all this cruelty. You could even buy cruelty-free dark chocolate, I guess, to avoid it. But still, there's the health ramifications. It just seems like being a chocolate lover is not as cool as people think it is. Yeah, so I'm proud to not be one. I'll just stick with milk chocolate and white chocolate. Those are fine for me. Mostly milk chocolate. The white gets a little bit tedious if you eat too much of it. Milk chocolate is like that perfectly balanced amount of chocolate and other stuff. So yeah, that's my message for this episode is eat milk chocolate. It's better than white chocolate and dark chocolate. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time. Bye.